At dinner, my girlfriend laughed to her friends. "He's sweet, but so below my level." They all laughed, until I smiled and said, "Then you'll love life without me." I paid the bill and left. That night, one of her friends texted me, "You need to know something about Sophie. What she sent me would destroy everything I thought I knew about the woman I'd planned to marry." Before we begin, make sure to hit the subscribe button and become part of our growing community. We'd love to hear from you, so don't forget to leave a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. Now, let's get into the story. My name is David Chen. I'm 34 years old, and up until 3 months ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I run a cybersecurity consulting firm that I built from scratch after leaving a cushy job at a tech giant in San Francisco. The money's good, really good, but I've never been the flashy type. I drive a 7-year-old Honda Accord because it's reliable. I wear jeans and plain shirts because they're comfortable. And I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Oakland because it has everything I need and nothing I don't. Sophie Martinez was the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room. Tall, elegant, with dark hair that fell in perfect waves and a smile that could make you forget your own name. She worked in marketing for a luxury fashion brand, and everything about her screamed sophistication. Designer clothes, expensive taste, the kind of presence that made other people feel underdressed. We met at a mutual friend's wedding 2 years ago. I was the best man, she was a bridesmaid, and we ended up talking for 3 hours at the reception about everything from artificial intelligence to the best tacos in the Bay Area. She laughed at my jokes, seemed genuinely interested in my work, and when she gave me her number, I felt like the luckiest guy alive. The first year was incredible. Sophie was attentive, affectionate, always planning romantic date nights and weekend getaways. She introduced me to her world of gallery openings and wine tastings, and I introduced her to mine of hackathons and tech conferences. We seemed like the perfect balance, her social polish complementing my technical expertise. But somewhere around the 18-month mark, things started changing. Small things at first. Sophie would make little comments about my clothes. "David, maybe you should let me take you shopping. You can't keep wearing those startup founder t-shirts everywhere." Or about my car. "Babe, don't you think it's time for an upgrade? We're not college students anymore." I brushed it off. Figured she was just trying to help me present better for her work events. But the comments became more frequent, more pointed. And they always came when her friends were around. Sophie had a tight circle of friends from her sorority days at Stanford. Jade Hartwell, whose father owned a chain of luxury hotels. Melissa Preston, married to a hedge fund manager. And Kara Sullivan, an influencer with 500,000 followers who documented every brunch like it was a cultural event. These women were Sophie's world, and increasingly, I felt like I was just a footnote in it. The dinner that changed everything happened on a Thursday night in March. Sophie had organized it at Aqua, one of those restaurants where the menu doesn't list prices and the sommelier acts like he's doing you a favor by speaking to you. She'd invited Jade, Melissa, and Kara and insisted I come along. "We need to do more couple things with my friends," she'd said that morning. "It'll be fun. You'll get to know them better." I should have known something was off when we arrived, and the women were already seated, already 2 bottles of wine deep, laughing about something I wasn't part of. Sophie kissed my cheek and introduced me like I was a pleasant accessory she'd brought along. "Everyone, you remember David? My tech genius." The way she said it made it sound like a quirk rather than a career. Dinner started normally enough. The women talked about an upcoming charity gala, about vacation plans in the Maldives, about some drama involving a mutual friend's divorce. I mostly listened, occasionally answering questions about my work in terms they could understand. Then Melissa, 3 glasses of wine in, turned to Sophie with a sly smile. "So, Soph, when's he finally going to upgrade that car? I keep telling Robert we should loan you guys his old Mercedes, but he says it's too nice to give away." The table laughed. Sophie joined in, her hand finding mine under the table, but the squeeze felt wrong. Performative. "David's practical," Sophie said. "He'd rather invest his money than spend it on material things. It's actually kind of sweet." "Sweet?" Jade repeated, swirling her wine. "That's one word for it. Another word would be boring, but we won't go there." More laughter. I felt my jaw tighten but said nothing. The conversation moved on, but the comments kept coming, little jabs wrapped in jokes. about my car, my clothes, my apartment, my choice to save money instead of spending it on luxury experiences. Then came the moment that shattered everything. Kara was showing photos from her latest trip to Paris, and Sophie was gushing about how she'd always wanted to stay at the hotel Kara had posted about. "It's like 2,000 a night," Kara said. "Totally worth it, though. The view from the suite is incredible." Sophie sighed dramatically. "Someday, right, David?" I smiled. "Someday for sure. We've been talking about Paris for our honeymoon." Jade laughed, a sharp sound that cut through the restaurant noise. "Honeymoon. That's adorable. Sophie, are you really still thinking about that?" Sophie's face flushed. "We've talked about it." "Talked about it," Melissa repeated. "Girl, you've been talking about it for months, but let's be real. Can he even afford the ring you actually want?" The table went quiet for a moment. Sophie's hand left mine. "I mean," Jade continued, leaning forward like she was sharing a secret. "He's sweet and all, but Sophie, be honest with us. Don't you ever feel like he's just, I don't know, below your level?" I waited for Sophie to defend me, to shut down the conversation, to remind her friends that relationships weren't about money or status. Instead, she laughed. That same laugh she used when she found something genuinely funny. "Oh my God," she said, covering her mouth like she was embarrassed by her own honesty. "I mean, yes, sometimes. Like, he's so sweet and smart, but come on. Look at where I am in my career. Look at my lifestyle. And then look at him driving around in that Honda, living in that apartment, wearing clothes from Target." The women burst into laughter. Real, genuine, cruel laughter. Like I wasn't sitting right there, like I was some inside joke they'd been waiting to share. Sophie continued, emboldened by their reaction. "I keep thinking he'll grow into his success, you know? Like he'll wake up one day and realize he can afford to live like he's actually made it. But no, he's perfectly happy being mediocre comfortable. It's honestly kind of embarrassing sometimes." Jade raised her glass. "To dating down and hoping they level up." They all clinked glasses, including Sophie. I sat there for a moment, processing what had just happened. My girlfriend of 2 years, the woman I'd been planning to propose to in 2 months, had just publicly humiliated me to her friends. And worse, she'd been thinking these things the entire time we'd been together. The server appeared with the check. Sophie reached for it automatically, the way she always did when we ate with her friends, expecting me to quietly hand over my credit card while she took credit for treating everyone. Not this time. I pulled the check folder toward me, opened it, and saw the total. Nearly $1,800 for dinner for 5 people. I pulled out my Black American Express card, the one I rarely used because I preferred to keep a low profile, and placed it on top of the bill. Then I looked directly at Sophie for the first time since her friends had started their performance. "You know what, Sophie?" I said, my voice calm and steady. "You're absolutely right. I am below your level. Way below." She blinked, confused by my tone. "I mean," I continued, looking around the table, "you all value things like cars and designer clothes and Instagram-worthy vacations. I value things like integrity, loyalty, and actually caring about the person you're with. So yeah, I'm definitely below your level. And honestly, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me." Sophie's smile faltered. "David, I was just joking around." "No, you weren't." I stood up, pulling my card back. "Actually, you know what? You should experience life at your level without me dragging you down. I'm sure one of your friends can cover this." I turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing, Sophie. The ring I was planning to propose with, the one your friend Melissa was so concerned about, it's a 3-carat diamond from Tiffany's. Cost more than your car. But I guess you'll never know that now." I walked out of that restaurant with every eye in the place on me. The valet brought my mediocre Honda around and I drove away from the life I thought I was building. My phone started buzzing before I even got home. Texts from Sophie, calls from Sophie, voicemails filled with apologies and explanations and promises that it was just the wine talking, that her friends had put her up to it, that she didn't mean any of it. I ignored every single one. What I didn't expect was the text that came at 2 a.m. from a number I didn't recognize. "David, this is Jade. Jade Hartwell from dinner. I know you probably don't want to hear from any of Sophie's friends right now, but there's something you need to know. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow? It's important. It's about Sophie, and it's not good." I stared at that message for a full 5 minutes. Jade Hartwell, the woman who'd started the whole below-your-level conversation, wanted to meet with me. Every instinct told me it was a trap, another way for Sophie's friends to humiliate me or manipulate me into taking her back. But there was something in the way she'd phrased it. "It's about Sophie, and it's not good." I texted back. 10 a.m. Blue Bottle Coffee on Broadway. Come alone. She responded immediately. "Thank you. You won't regret this." I spent the rest of the night wide awake, my mind racing through possibilities. What could Jade possibly tell me that would matter now? Sophie had already shown me exactly who she was. What more was there to know? At 9:45 a.m., I was sitting in Blue Bottle with a black coffee, watching the door. Jade walked in at exactly 10 a.m., looking nothing like the polished woman from last night. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a Stanford sweatshirt. She looked nervous. She spotted me and walked over quickly, sliding into the seat across from me before I could change my mind. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her hands wrapped around the coffee cup like she needed it for warmth despite the mild Bay Area weather. "You have 10 minutes, I said. "Then I'm gone." "Fair enough." She took a deep breath. "What I'm about to tell you is going to hurt, but you deserve to know the truth before you make any decisions about Sophie." I waited. "Sophie has been cheating on you," Jade said, "for the past 6 months, with Ethan Marsh from her office." The name hit me like a physical blow. Ethan Marsh, Sophie's co-worker, the one she'd mentioned casually in conversation a few times, the creative director at her agency, the guy who drove a Tesla and lived in a penthouse in Soma. "How do you know?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Because I helped her cover for it," Jade admitted, and she looked genuinely ashamed. "The girls' nights out she told you about? Half of them were with Ethan. The work conferences? Some of those were actually weekend trips they took. Together." "I lied for her, David. We all did." "Why?" Jade looked away. "Because that's what we do for each other, or what I thought we were supposed to do. But last night, watching her humiliate you like that in front of everyone, I realized I'd been helping her do something terrible to someone who didn't deserve it." I sat back, processing this information. Sophie had been living a double life. All those times she'd kissed me goodbye and told me she loved me, she'd been planning to spend time with another man. "There's more," Jade continued. "Sophie has been planning to break up with you for weeks, but she wanted to wait until after her company's annual awards ceremony next month because she needed a date and Ethan can't go. He's still married." "Of course he is," I said bitterly. "She's been telling us that once the ceremony is over, she's going to end things with you and start openly dating Ethan. She thinks his divorce will be final by summer and they can go public then." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked Jade directly. "What's in it for you?" Jade met my eyes. "Honestly? Guilt. I've watched you be nothing but kind and supportive to Sophie for 2 years. You're one of the good ones, David. And watching her treat you like you're disposable while she plays house with a married man made me realize I've been a terrible person." She pulled out her phone and scrolled through something, then turned it toward me. Screenshots, dozens of them. Text conversations between Sophie and Ethan. Photos they'd sent each other. Hotel reservations. Everything I'd need to confirm the affair. "I'm giving you these," Jade said, "because you deserve to know the truth. And because Sophie deserves to face the consequences of her choices." I looked at the evidence, my hands surprisingly steady. The messages were explicit, intimate, filled with inside jokes and plans for a future that didn't include me. There was even a message from last week where Sophie had written, "Just 2 more weeks until the awards ceremony, then I can finally end this charade with David. I'm so tired of pretending." "Send them to me," I said quietly. Jade nodded and forwarded everything to my number. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I stood up, leaving my coffee untouched. Something I should have done a long time ago. Take control of my own story. Over the next week, Sophie called and texted constantly, begging for another chance. She showed up at my apartment twice, but I didn't answer the door. She sent flowers to my office with cards that said things like, "I made a terrible mistake and please let me make this right." I ignored all of it. Instead, I focused on planning. See, Sophie had made one critical error in her calculation of my worth. She'd assumed that because I didn't spend money ostentatiously, I didn't have any. She had no idea that my cybersecurity firm had been acquired by a major tech company 6 months ago for an amount that would make her designer handbag collection look like pocket change. I'd kept the acquisition quiet, taking a retention package that paid me 7 figures annually to stay on as a consultant while they integrated my technology. I'd been planning to tell Sophie about it when I proposed. Thought it would be a nice surprise, proof that her faith in me had been well placed, now that money was going to serve a very different purpose. I called my lawyer, Marcus Chen, and explained the situation. Marcus had been my attorney since I started my company, and he was ruthlessly efficient when it came to protecting my interests. "So you want to make sure she can't touch any of your assets," Marcus confirmed during our meeting. "That's part of it, but I also want to do something else." I explained my plan and watched Marcus' face shift from professional neutrality to genuine admiration. "David, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And completely legal. Let's do it." Over the next 2 weeks, I restructured my entire financial life. Every asset that had my name on it got moved into trusts and LLCs. I made large charitable donations to organizations Sophie had claimed to support but never actually contributed to. The Women's Tech Scholarship Fund, the Homeless Youth Program, the Environmental Conservation Group. I documented everything meticulously because I knew what was coming next. Sophie's company awards ceremony was scheduled for a Friday night at the Fairmont Hotel. It was their biggest event of the year, attended by clients, partners, and industry leaders. Sophie had texted me the details 3 times, assuming I'd show up like the dutiful boyfriend she expected me to be. I had different plans. 2 days before the ceremony, I created a digital presentation. Nothing fancy, just a simple slideshow with screenshots of Sophie's messages with Ethan, photos of them together from social media that they'd thought were private, and a timeline of their affair mapped against our relationship milestones. Every "I love you" message she'd sent me had a corresponding message to Ethan from the same day. I sent it to Marcus for review. His response came back within an hour. "This will destroy her career and social standing. Are you absolutely certain you want to go through with this?" I thought about Sophie laughing with her friends, about the months of lies, about the fact that she'd planned to use me one more time before discarding me. "I'm certain," I replied. Then I called Jade. "I need a favor," I said when she answered. "And before you agree, know that this is going to burn your friendship with Sophie to the ground." "After what she did to you?" Jade said. "That friendship's already dead. What do you need?" I explained my plan. Jade was quiet for a long moment, then she laughed. A real laugh, not the cruel one from dinner. "David Chen, you magnificent bastard." "I'm in. What do you need me to do?" The night of the awards ceremony, I didn't go to the Fairmont. Instead, I went to dinner at a small Thai restaurant in Berkeley, with my actual friends. People from my company who knew me, valued me, and never once suggested I was below anyone's level. But my presentation did make it to the ceremony. Jade had convinced the event coordinator, an old friend from her sorority, that there was a special tribute video for Sophie that needed to be played during the networking hour before dinner. At exactly 7:15 p.m., while Sophie was laughing with colleagues and Ethan was standing a careful distance away to maintain appearances, the large screens throughout the ballroom switched from the company logo to my presentation. The room fell silent as Sophie's text messages appeared in 20-foot-high letters. "Can't wait to finally dump David after this stupid ceremony. He served his purpose. Just 2 more weeks of pretending to be the supportive girlfriend, then I'm all yours. Ethan and I are talking about moving in together once his divorce is final. David will never see it coming." The screenshots continued, each one more damaging than the last. Photos of Sophie and Ethan on trips I'd thought she'd taken for work. Hotel receipts. Messages mocking me, mocking Ethan's wife, planning their future while destroying 2 people who'd trusted them. According to Jade, who filmed the whole thing on her phone, Sophie's face went from confused to pale to absolutely horrified in about 30 seconds. Ethan tried to leave but was blocked by a crowd of shocked colleagues. The CEO of their company, a woman known for her zero-tolerance policy on workplace affairs, watched the entire presentation with crossed arms and the expression that promised consequences. The presentation ended with a single slide. Just text on a black background. "To everyone who thought David Chen was below Sophie Martinez's level, you were right. I was. Because I valued honesty, loyalty, and integrity. Values that Sophie clearly never learned. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. My phone exploded with messages. Sophie calling over and over. Melissa and Kara, angry texts about how I'd humiliated their friend. But mixed in were messages from people I didn't expect. Ethan's wife, Sarah, thanking me for finally giving her the proof she needed to leave her cheating husband. Sophie's CEO, requesting my contact information for an official statement. And dozens of people from the industry who'd been at that ceremony, telling me they respected the hell out of what I'd done. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Sophie was fired on Monday morning. Not just for the affair, which violated company policy, but because several major clients had witnessed the presentation and demanded she be removed from their accounts. Ethan was demoted and transferred to their satellite office in Portland, effectively ending his career trajectory at the company. Sophie's friends, minus Jade, tried to rally around her on social media, posting vague messages about supporting women through difficult times. But Jade went on her Instagram, with 500,000 followers, and posted a video explaining exactly what had happened, why I'd been justified, and how she was done enabling toxic behavior in the name of friendship. The video went viral. Suddenly, I wasn't just some guy who'd gotten revenge on his ex-girlfriend. I was a symbol of people who'd been underestimated and undervalued, finally standing up for themselves. Sophie showed up at my apartment one last time, a week after the ceremony. I answered the door this time because I wanted to see her face. She looked broken. Hair unwashed, eyes red from crying, wearing sweatpants I'd never seen her in before. "David, please," she said, her voice hoarse. "I made a terrible mistake. I was stupid and shallow, and I didn't appreciate what I had. But we can fix this. We can start over. I'll do anything." I leaned against the doorframe, studying her like she was a stranger. In a way, she was. I'd never actually known the real Sophie, just the performance she'd given me. "Sophie," I said gently, "you didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Hundreds of choices, actually. Every time you lied to me. Every time you met up with Ethan. Every time you let your friends mock me and joined in. Those were all choices." "I know," she whispered. "And I'm so sorry. If you give me another chance, I'll prove that I've changed. I'll be better. I promise." I shook my head. "The thing is, I don't want you to be better. Not for me, anyway. Because even if you changed completely, even if you became the most honest and loyal person on earth, I'd never be able to trust you again. And a relationship without trust isn't a relationship. It's just two people going through the motions." Sophie's face crumpled. "So that's it? 2 years together and you're just done?" "2 years where you pretended to love me while planning your exit strategy," I corrected. "Yeah, I'm done. But Sophie, I want you to know something. I don't hate you. I actually feel sorry for you." "Sorry for me?" Her voice rose. "You ruined my career, my reputation, my entire life. And you feel sorry for me?" "I feel sorry for you," I continued calmly, "because you spent 2 years with someone who genuinely loved you, who would have given you anything you asked for, who was planning to build a life with you. And you threw it all away because you were more interested in what I looked like on paper than who I actually was as a person. That's sad, Sophie. That's a sad way to live." I stepped back and started to close the door. "Goodbye, Sophie. I really do hope you figure out what actually matters in life, but you're going to have to do that without me." I closed the door on her tears, on the past 2 years, on the version of myself who'd accepted being treated as less than. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new penthouse in San Francisco. Yeah, I finally upgraded. Not because Sophie made me feel like I needed to, but because I realized I'd been so focused on not appearing materialistic that I'd denied myself things I actually wanted. The view of the Bay Bridge is spectacular. My home office has everything I need to run my consulting business and start developing my next cybersecurity venture. And the parking garage houses both my Honda Accord, which runs perfectly fine, and a new Tesla that I bought because I wanted it, not because anyone expected it. Jade and I have become genuine friends. She left Sophie's inner circle completely and has been using her platform to talk about toxic friendships and the importance of surrounding yourself with people who make you better, not bitter. Last week, she introduced me to her cousin Emma, a software engineer who thinks my Honda is charming and my dedication to financial responsibility is attractive. We've been on 3 dates, and I haven't once felt like I need to prove my worth to her. As for Sophie, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she's working at a small boutique marketing firm now, making a fraction of what she used to earn. Ethan's wife took him for everything in the divorce, and he's apparently living with his parents while trying to rebuild his career. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled things, if I think I went too far with the public humiliation. My answer is always the same. Sophie humiliated me publicly first. She just didn't expect me to have the receipts or the spine to respond in kind. The truth is, that night at Aqua was the best thing that ever happened to me. It showed me exactly who Sophie was behind the performance. It taught me that my worth isn't determined by how others perceive me, but by how I perceive myself. And it reminded me that sometimes walking away with your dignity intact is worth more than any relationship. I'm not below anyone's level. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Living my life on my terms, surrounded by people who see my value, and finally understanding that the right person will never make you feel like you're not enough. Sophie taught me a valuable lesson, just not the one she intended. She taught me that some people will always prioritize appearance over substance, status over character, and performance over authenticity. And those people aren't worth keeping in your life, no matter how beautiful they are, or how much you think you love them. Looking back, I realize I didn't lose Sophie that night at dinner. I found myself. And that's worth more than any 3-carat diamond ring or any relationship built on lies. The girl who laughed at me for being below her level is now learning what it's like to rebuild from the bottom. Meanwhile, I'm living my best life, dating someone who appreciates me, and sleeping soundly at night knowing I stood up for myself when it mattered most. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building a better life without the people who couldn't see your value in the first place. If you found this story meaningful, share it with someone who needs to hear that they're enough exactly as they are. Leave us a comment about a time you stood up for yourself, even when it was terrifying. And remember that anyone who makes you feel less than doesn't deserve to be part of your more than.